Hi, folks. Welcome back. I'm Gino, the painting acolyte, and this is my hobby diary. Got a new mic and setup, so we're sitting at the computer desk. Gonna hit you with some poppin' peas here. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing with this. Anyway, I'm being dumb. What am I doing? So when last we talked, I was working on my Skull Reaper kit bashes. I was putting the Space Marine legs onto the bodies of the Skull Reapers. In between then and now, I've finished those kit bashes, at least got them together with a lot of green stuffing and some gluing, a lot of extra bits, and a lot of griming up with some sand and baking soda and some paint. There's something magical with a kit bash about getting that first base coat, that prime job done on them. It really ties together all the pieces. You can be really uncertain about it when it's just all these different colors and you got your green blobs and your different bits of different types of plastic, and you've got your grime and your different colors from the gray plastic in it. That first color, and it's all the same color, it really starts to look like it's an actual thing rather than just a mess. How'd I do? This month, I did a lot of airbrushing in my little airbrush booth setup that I've got set up in my painting station. I slowly feel like I'm getting better at it, but it definitely feels like it's a completely different tool set and skill set from brush painting. While a lot of the skills that I have already built up from my regular painting translate over into airbrushing, it is a completely different skill set and set of tools, and it's not exactly the same. Not everything transfers over. I'm really enjoying using it and the opportunities that it gives me with painting. I definitely really enjoy the airbrush. It's a ton of fun getting to spray paint and use a bunch of different techniques that I wouldn't be able to do with a brush. Getting to do them through the airbrush is really nice, and having my little booth set up so that I'm able to do it whenever, time of day or the weather outside, it's definitely fun. I feel like it was definitely worth the pretty small investment that I put into it already. I also recently decided that I want to push myself when it comes to my zenithal painting or priming. Zenithal painting is loosely the idea of painting something as if the source of light is the sun directly above it, as if it's the middle of the day in its brightest position. It doesn't always have to be the sun. It's just the idea of it is that the light source is directly above, shining down, and the darkest parts are below it. In loose, basic terms, it would be taking, a model, painting it a single regular base coat, a darker base coat, and then taking a brighter color, whether it's white or a brighter shade of the original base coat, and spraying it from directly above, like right onto the face or onto the top of the head, to simulate the sun being on top and shining down above someone. If people are interested, I could do a whole video about zenithal priming and painting and different ways to do this and why you even do it in the first place. Since my Stormcast theme incorporates white armor, I wanted to really push this and make it a bit easier for me in terms of painting steps and a better final product. The base coat, the initial prime, is a light gray, and then I'll take some white ink and spray it directly above, and then I'll take some black paint. In this, I used Black Templar contrast paint, but I later changed to just regular pure black ink because I don't really like the green tones that Black Templar has. I take that and spray it from the bottom so that you get really bright top parts and a really dark shadows. This sort of high contrast undercoat works really well for things like contrast paints or transparent paints, maybe inks, things that are really transparent that you can layer over your zenithal sketch. You already have your built-in highlights at their highest points and your shadows at your darkest points, and then you just tint those to be the shade that you actually want. For the white armor that I'm doing here, though, I don't really need to do much other than just, leave it as it is. I already have white on top, black on bottom, and a nice smooth black to white with gray in the middle transition that just comes from layering those colors over. So in the future, I'm going to try and just leave it at that. Just leave with the initial priming. With this batch, I inevitably ended up futzing with it a bit more than I probably should have because I tend to do that a lot, overcomplicate things for myself, and really messing with something that's already looking all right and making it harder for myself. One of the neat things about having a large collection of miniatures in a single scheme is that you really get to experiment and try out lots of different things in building up that scheme. As long as you hit the general notes, get everything the same general color, especially when you put it all together, they're not going to look super different. So even if you mess up on one batch or you do something that doesn't look quite like what you want on one batch, when you put it with the rest of them, it's still going to look good. It's still going to match the scheme. So I've been painting this army in a lot of different smaller batches, usually anywhere between 5 to 10 miniatures at a time. And by doing that, I get to do a lot of different experiments with the scheme that I've already built. I get to play around with it a lot, try out different kinds of paints to achieve the same kind of effects. For instance, using purple contrast paints to over a black and white sketch to make my purple cloaks, rather than starting with a base coat of purple and then shading and then building up the highlights. Trying to find shortcuts or trying to just find new things that do the same thing but different. I don't think any of the batches that I've painted for my Stormcast have been done in the exact same way, and at this point I'm nearing 60, probably more models within this scheme of various sizes and shapes. And I'm not necessarily trying to find the perfect recipe through all of these tests, but more just trying to build up my skill set when it comes to painting and really fully build up an arsenal of tools that I can use and then, incorporate them in different ways. For this particular batch, I tried using some new contrast paints that I picked up, and tried dabbling in some oil washes some more. Oil washes are the big new hotness in the Warhammer and miniature painting community in general. I could probably make a whole video just on this topic, but right now I don't feel like I know too much or just enough to really talk about it at any great length. I still need to develop my skill set and learn how these things work. But in my experiments, I find that there's a lot of useful things you can do with them, but I still get really frustrated with them at times. I haven't found the magic bullet for using oil washes or oil paints that a lot of other people have just yet. Like with the airbrush, it's just a different skill set and different tools and just a different mindset in comparison to the regular brush acrylic painting that I, started learning on and that a lot of people use. A lot of the skills that I've already built up are transferable over to oil paints and oil washes, but there's a lot of stuff that's not transferable, and I need to do a lot more learning with it. I get frustrated with it at times, so much so that I stop painting at times, but I'm learning and I'm growing, and I think they're a really useful tool, and I can see their potential. I just need to really refine my skill and ability with them right now. Speaking of things that I'm trying and learning and trying to get good at, one thing that I still haven't really nailed, but I keep practicing and trying to learn, is how to do object source lighting, or OSL, with my airbrush. Particularly on these Stormcast models, I want to really get the glowing orange eyes and some of the more magical details to glow orange. OSL, object source lighting, is a really high reward but potentially high effort technique that a lot of people use that really makes things look like they're glowing, like they're lit up, like they're producing light that's actually shining on the model rather than just being, flat paint on a thing. It's a technique that can be really difficult to pull off, and I feel like in certain instances I haven't really been able to pull it off. A lot of that might come down to my typical overthinking and overfutzing, as I would call it, messing with stuff that I don't need to. For me right now, I think the main thing that I need to learn when it comes to producing glow effects with my airbrush is how to really dial down that trigger control. And that's the diary for now. Thanks for stopping by and watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoy making these, and I really like getting to share my hobby with other people. If you've got any videos that you'd like to see or any topics you'd like me to cover, anything that you want me to go into more detail into, if you've got any questions, any comments or anything, leave them down below. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and everything else that real YouTubers tell you to do. If you like the videos that I make and that you want to see more, and if you want to keep in touch with the channel. Thanks for watching. I'm Gino the Painting Acolyte, and I'll see you in the next one. Be well, take care, bye.